Hi, I'm Greg Campbell with Fortus Pilates. Today I'm going to show you how to use our Aluminum Elite Studio folding reformer. So let's start with how you move this machine around. There's one trick for moving it, and so let me just turn the machine a little bit here. So it has wheels, and it's actually pretty easy, but if you just try to tip it over, it'll have a tendency to just move along the ground. What you want to do is just take one of your feet and just brace it on the bottom part of the frame here, and then you can take an over-underhand grip, grab onto the crossbar, and just pull the reformer towards you. Okay, and then so once you have it tipped, it's very easy to maneuver it, turn it, and do whatever you want. And so if you're getting the reformer ready to be open, to be unfolded, what you want to do is put the front of the reformer, put those legs exactly where you want them to wind up once you unfold the reformer. So let's say I want the front to be here. I'll put the reformer down, and then when I open it up, what you'll see is it'll just be the rear of the frame that'll swing out and wind up over here. But what you have to do first, there's these latches, one latch on either side, that hold the two parts of the frame together to keep it secure. So just open up those latches. Okay, so we'll open up the one side, I'll open up the other side. And now all I have to do to unfold the reformer is take one of my hands, put it up on the crossbar here, take the other hand onto the inside of the frame, and you'll see this wants to roll open. So the front will stay where it is, and the back side will just start rolling on the wheels, okay? And at a certain point, gravity will take over, and you'll just ease it to the ground, okay? So now you have your reformer on the ground. It's the opposite process once you get the machine all prepped, and I'll show you this in a little bit to put it away. You're just gonna pull up on the crossbar, and those wheels roll right in, and then you can put the reformer away. Okay, so let's put the reformer back down. And then let me show you how to take the reformer from the folded configuration with the foot bar here and without the shoulder rests and get all the other pieces set up so you can start using it. To get the reformer ready for use, the first thing you're going to do is unlock this foot bar. So the foot bar, when it's in the folded position, folds all the way up flat against the carriage to keep things nice and compact. So what you'll do, and this is anytime you want to adjust the foot bar, is you pull the foot bar away and then you can rotate it. So in this case, I pull it away, that unlocks it, and I can rotate it and put it in the position that I want the foot bar to be in. So with that done, now the carriage is unlocked, and I'll just remove this spring that I had here securing the carriage as well. So now this carriage is free to move. The next thing I want to do whenever I unfold it, it's unlikely, but sometimes if you tipped the reformer, what could happen is some of your springs could wind up crossed like this, right? And so obviously we wouldn't want to then take this cross spring and hook it on the wrong position. That would cause the springs to grind against each other, which we don't want. So what you're going to do is always after you unfold the reformer, just take a quick look down and make sure that all of the springs are properly in their little spot. They've all got a little cubby here underneath. Make sure they're all in the right spot and everything is straight, nothing is crossed. With that done, what you can do is stick on the shoulder rest. So what I'll do here is I'll grab one of my shoulder rests, and you'll see these shoulder rests, they're a little bit off center. The post is a little bit off center. And then what you'll also see is that there's actually two holes on each of the mounts. What that does is it actually gives you 4 different combinations of positions that will adjust how far apart the shoulder rests are. So if you're somebody who has a very small frame, you can adjust these shoulder rests to be very close together. But if you're somebody who's a little bit larger like I am, I typically will want my shoulder rests moved out a little bit for comfort. Okay, so pick the right position, and those shoulder rests just drop down into place. You might have to give them a little jiggle to push them in. Okay, so I've got my shoulder rests on, and then you also have in behind the shoulder rests, you have these 2 rear posts, and you can screw those in as well. They just screw right in. That only takes a second. And you just put those in so they're sort of finger tight. You don't need to overdo it. Just make them, roughly snug. Then what you'll probably want to do, since you're at this end of the reformer, is adjust your carriage stoppers. So you can see, and these carriage stoppers will be on the innermost hole for the folded position, but you can see you have 5 options total. And what that'll do is change where the carriage docks. And so if you're somebody who has more limited hip mobility, or you like to be a little bit further away from the foot bar, you'll adjust your carriage stopper into one of the outer holes. And likewise, if you like a little bit more range of motion, you can adjust it sort of inwards. Okay, so I'll put this into the number 4 position. And then the thing I want to make sure of is that wherever I put the carriage stopper on one side, I want to make sure that I do use the same hole on the other. So on the other side, I'm inserting the other carriage stopper into that corresponding hole. Right, so now the carriage will dock nice and securely. Okay. So next up, what we'll do is we'll deal with the ropes and the rear posts. So let's get our rear posts attached next. And the rear posts, what you'll see is each rear post has 3 holes, and then there's a single hole in the frame of the reformer. And so the idea is that gives this rear post 3 different heights that you can adjust it to. For me, I'm a little bit taller, and for the angles, I tend to prefer adjusting it so that we thread into this bottommost hole, keep the pole the highest, but you can do whatever works for you. So what you'll do is you'll take your knob, you'll get 2 of these knobs, which are threaded, and you'll just insert the post into the hole in the frame. And then what you'll have to do is align the hole that you want with this hole and screw in the knob. And so sometimes that can be a little bit of a feel operation. You got to kind of find the right spot. And I find that sometimes it kind of helps to just bend down, take a little look, and you can see when it's aligned. And then you can put in your knob and just kind of find it, slot in. I thought I had it there. There we go. Okay, and then you just screw this in until it's snug. And then you've got a nice secure rear post. Just make sure this pulley is obviously facing towards the front of the reformer. You need that for getting the ropes on. And then you just repeat the same thing with the other post and the other knob on the other side to get the other shoulder rest attached. So for the ropes and straps, they're going to ship separately. And so you're going to get your double loop straps here. And then you're also going to get a couple of ropes. One end which is just a very plain rope end, and the other end which has a loop on it. So the first thing you need to do is get your strap on your rope, which can seem very complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. Okay, so all you're going to do is get the loop end of the rope and just stick the strap halfway through it. So you're basically making a T. Okay, then just fold the strap over on itself and put it through its own loop, right? So this is the loop end of the strap right here. I'm going to fold this over and just pull it through, and then you might have to feed it down a little bit. But then what you'll get is the strap will connect with a very simple knot. And the nice thing about this is when you want to take these straps off to wash them, it's just the reverse process. You can easily take the straps off, you can wash them. I would hand wash them in a sink. I wouldn't put them in a washing machine, but you can hand wash them in a sink and then you can put them back on. And then in terms of getting the rope now connected to the reformer, what I typically do is I'll just take the big loop, I'll put that over the shoulder rest, because that'll give me about the right length. And then I'll get my loose end of the rope and I'll stick it through the pulley. And it doesn't matter which way because the pulley can spin. And I'll feed that through all the way. And then what I do is the locking mechanism is mounted just below the carriage here. And you'll see there is a little U, a metal U at the back end of that locking clip. And this part is really important. I'll give you a close-up of this so you can see exactly how you do this properly. So what I have to do is take this loose end of the rope. I have to stick it through this metal clip. I don't want to have it outside. So if I connect it like this, and you'll see there's a little hole here, and these are the locking cleats right here. So if I just stick my rope through like this, I can get the locks to engage the rope, okay? You'll see it's outside of this clip, but then what can happen is if I'm using the reformer and I pull at the right angle, I can actually have it suddenly release. So obviously we don't want that. You could get hurt. That's not good for anything. So that's the whole point of this metal clip here. If I feed the rope through the metal clip, then through the hole for the excess rope and just pull it tight, it'll engage into those cleats. Now I can pull on my rope at any angle and it can't release because this metal clip is holding that rope down, engaged in the locking mechanism, okay? So that's really important. If I want to tighten it, I just pull down a little bit. If I want to loosen it, I'll disengage the rope, I'll back some out, and then I'll make sure that I re-engage the locking cleats. Now I'd like to talk about how to use the accessories, namely the platform extender and the jump board. Okay, so let's start with the jump board because it's the one that's a little bit more difficult to make sure you're using it properly. What I've seen some people do with the jump board is, so it just goes into this bottom part of the jump board, inserts into the slot in the front of the frame. So I can just go ahead and drop that in place, and I could go ahead and start using this. The problem is there's nothing supporting the back of it, right? And so it'd be very easy. This is relatively strong plywood, but not strong enough for a heavy person to be jumping off of it. You could easily crack this. And so what you want to do with the jump board is always make sure that you adjust the foot bar first into position 4. In position 4, the foot bar is directly aligned with this slot, and that's not an accident. The purpose of that is now when I take my jump board and I stick it in the slot, it's actually held by the foot bar. So I can bang on that as hard as I want. This foot bar is fully supporting the jump board. That's what makes it safe for use. It is not safe to use the jump board if the foot bar is not fully locked in the 4th position. Okay, so that's just a kind of a gotcha for using the jump board. Platform extender is a little bit simpler because it is a just drop it into place type of operation. So I can take my padded platform extender and I just get it over the slot and I let it drop into place, okay? It'll just be secure by itself. You don't need to do anything else. So pretty straightforward. Okay, so we've gone through basically all of the usage. So now let's say you're done your training session with your reformer and you want to take it from this fully set up state to fold it up and put away. So let me run you through that whole process. It's everything we just did in reverse, so nothing particularly complicated. So first thing, get rid of any accessories. So in this case, we had the platform extender in, so we'll get rid of that. Put it off to the side. We want to get rid of our ropes, so we take them off. And that's just a matter of disengaging the locking mechanism, pulling the rope through, off out of the locking mechanism, out of the pulley, and I can put that rope to the side. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Through, and that's away. Now we'll pop off the rear posts. So I just need to unscrew my 2 knobs, if you remember, that are holding those rear posts on. Then I can pull the rear posts out, put them off to the side. Okay, now we need to get the carriage set up. We can leave the shoulder rests. You can take off the shoulder rests and the posts if you want. I tend to leave them on unless you really care about how wide the reformer is after you fold it. You can just leave them in place. So now let's get the carriage set up. First thing I need to do is take my shoulder rests, move them to the full inward position. Then I can bring the carriage all the way in. And I'd like to secure it with one of the springs. I'll just throw a blue spring on just to keep the carriage in place. Then I'm going to rotate that foot bar back flat against the carriage. So around it goes. It locks into place and we're all set. So now we do our folding operation where we just lift on that crossbar. The rear section rolls in, closes. And then if you remember, there are those 2 clips that are here to hold the 2 parts of the frame together. I'll just engage both of those clips. And then I would go ahead and I would roll this reformer away and put it wherever I wanted it. If I wanted to stick it right up against the wall, I could roll it essentially right into the corner and work its way in. So pretty straightforward using this aluminum reformer. The nice thing about this folding reformer is that it is a studio grade reformer. You can use this in studios. The warranty covers it. I believe it's the only reformer on the market that is a folding reformer specifically targeted for studio use. So it's an excellent, excellent quality machine.